and welcome to Comfort Legacies with Fay Michelle. Today we have Miss Beautiful Kimani Lauren here, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Hi,
Hi,
Kimani.
thank you so much for having me. My name is Kimani Lauren. I am an author. I have been a writer all my life, but I published my first book in 2011. Took a little bit of a hiatus and came back in 2020. The pandemic the blessing in the pandemic was that I was able to have some time to finally publish a book. And now that book has become part of a series, and I am here um, trying to raise awareness and write books about Blackness and exploited children and how that affects people, as well as how classism mirrors racism.
Okay. Well, that was a lot in one mouth. Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Syracuse, New York.
Okay. All right. And so you just finished publishing your second book, or is this
This is the third one.
the third one in a series?
This is the second in the series, the third
Okay.
that I published in all, and I'm about to
Okay.
publish the third in the series next month.
Oh, okay. So do you have any of your books with you?
Yes, because of beautiful technology, which has been quite the challenge today.
Yes, right.
I actually have them all on my Kindle. The first one in the series is in the process of being put on Audible.
Oh, okay.
I'm working with a narrator, a voice narrator that I actually met. Her name
Wow.
is Kimberly Yvonne Steele, and she has the most amazing voice. The first time I heard her, I was like, wow, I just want her to read bedtime stories to me. And
Really?
she is reading she's working on Consider Your Ways. It's a lengthy book, so it's taken a while, and it'll probably be
Yes.
available at the end of June. Okay, so got my last physical copy of
Beautiful.
Consider Your Ways.
I love that. Holding it
And
up like this in front. Come on. Oh, wow. I love the color. What is it?
thank you.
Roses?
It's roses and a bullet. I actually had to repackage it
Okay.
because social media advertising doesn't really like the bullets on there. So
Oh.
so it's in the middle of getting repackaged, and Amazon should have that up for me soon. So
So you can have it on Amazon, but you can't have it on social media?
so you can have it on social media, but you can't run advertisements for it. And
Really?
yeah, that's understandable.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's something to know. See, because what I do here is we talk about your ways of publishing and the things that your journey in publishing, things that you learn, and to help others consider how they might go about the process as well. So that's
Yeah.
good to know. Do you know of
Yes,
any other
definitely.
restrictions?
Um, lately they've been with every advertising platform is different, but lately with Facebook and I think with BookBub as well, they haven't. They've been taken down ads that have shirtless men on them. So if you're writing
Shirt?
shirtless men.
Oh,
Hmm.
shirtless. Really?
Yes, yes. So if you write romance novels, we used to
Yes.
see with the pecs popping out. You can't do that anymore. If you want to run ads on Facebook, they are cracking down, and they'll take it down in the middle of you running an ad. They'll take a couple dollars from you first, and then they'll tell you this isn't acceptable. So
Right.
it really
Oh,
messes
that's good to
with.
know.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
do have a few romance authors out there and they're looking to advertise their books that way. That's good to know. Not like you said, they'll take a few dollars from you first before they tell you that this is not the appropriate form that they would like to see. So after you
Right.
spent your money. Yes. Okay. So, and so shirtless men, and walk us through a little bit about what your book is about. Consider your ways.
So my book is about a woman who needs to forgive herself, a young lady who is on a journey. She has lost her father and she has lost her brother, and she is going back to their old stomping grounds to try to reconnect with the rest of her family. She grew up sheltered and taken away from her family by her mother because they had a less than amicable split. So she's trying to find her roots, and in the midst of finding her roots, she finds out that her mother had a hand in all of the oppression that her father's hometown came from. They live in a city that is behind a bridge, and everybody who lives behind this bridge is subjected to all of this oppression and poverty, food deserts, things like that. And her father was really a crusader trying to repair that and trying to make things better for everybody. On the other side of the bridge, the farther away from the bridge that you live in this place, the higher your so-called perceived class status is. And her mother lived very high, very high. So now she's trying to come to terms with the fact that her mother was instrumental in the oppression that her father was fighting against. And in the midst of all that, she has a baby. She's very young when she has this baby, and she doesn't know that the man that impregnated her, and I say that very intentionally, it wasn't her boyfriend, it was a man who impregnated her, was also instrumental in all the oppression that they go through. So now she's trying to come to grips with all this, and then she's being stalked by this man who impregnated her, and it turns out that he is one of the key players in everything that's going on, and he's developed a crime ring that helps to fuel the higher class statuses. So now she's in
Mm.
debt and she's trying to get out of it. She meets a man who wants her to believe that he can get her out of it, but it turns out that they have to help each other out in the end, and in turn help their whole city to get out of this class hierarchy.
Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting. Now, how did you come up with that plot or storyline?
So in my first marriage, my first husband would tell me these wild stories. Like, you know how your uncle gets drunk and tells you something crazy? That was him every
Uh-huh.
day. He drunk uncle every day. And he told me this story one day, and then he just walked away and went to sleep. And I was like, why would you tell me that? I'm like so disturbed by this story that he told me. And to this day, I don't know if it was about him or if it was about this person that he said it was about. But
Right.
it was so disturbing that I had to sit down and write down what he said because it wouldn't get out of my head. And the
Huh.
villain in this story was born from that. And the story, this was, our son is 16 now. So this was 16 years ago when this story happened. So it took a couple turns, and then I did some reading on some different subjects. I did a lot of reading of from the Black Panther Party's required list, and I said, well, what if I turn this and make this story that he told me into the villain? And that's how it was born. It's taken lots of twists and turns. I laugh at all the drafts of it that I've written over the years because it was just crazy at first. But this is what it came into. It really came down to how classism mirrors white supremacy and racism, and how that needs to be fought.
Wow. So he tells you a story and it's confusing for you, and then you turn that story pretty much into a book and series and
Yes.
add the plots and things into it. Wow. Now, what part of the story? Now, I don't want you to tell me all the story. I just want to know what part of the story drove you to that. What did he tell you?
He told me this story about a friend that he had that he was going to support in court, but he supposedly didn't know what he was going to court for. And then he said on the third day that he went there, he found out that the friend that he was supporting had been kidnapping little boys and had some in a basement in an apartment building in Brooklyn. And then he just walked away. That was all the story that he told. And I'm like, okay, so is this somebody who's been to my house? Is this somebody I need to be aware of? Why did you tell me this story? And he just used to like dangle the story in front of me to the point where it wouldn't get out of my head. So that
Wow.
we think of the villain, that's where the villain from this story was created from.
Oh, wow. Wow. So I can understand why that's disturbing. So you don't know if it's it was him you said or someone he was dealing with?
Nope, I don't know if it was him, somebody who had been in my house. I didn't know if it was one of his brothers or what. So we're not
Or
together,
true?
or or even true, right? So,
But did you feel like you feel like it was a sense of truth to it?
oh, it was that there was definitely some truth there because
Oh,
he always
wow.
had stories about his life and how he grew up because he grew up in the system and he had a lot of bad things happen to him. But sometimes he would tell stories and I was like, okay, well, you could have avoided that by not being this type of person. So this story was kind of like, I don't know if he was telling me because he wanted to see if I was going to judge him. But my reaction was like, yes, I'm judging you because this is in my head. Like, what needs to happen next with our marriage? So,
Oh, wait. But you said this is your husband.
no, this is my ex-husband.
Your ex-husband. Oh, no. Oh, you know what? I got confused because you said you know how an uncle. So I got stuck with the uncle.
Oh no, I was
Oh,
just
but
uncle analogy and how
right. I just got caught up in the story, and Uncle stuck with me because you said you have a drunk uncle or something like that, but
oh
you
okay,
said your
yeah.
husband would get drunk or he would tell you these stories, and then what happened? How did that your relationship dissolve, or you said husband wise?
Yeah, our marriage ended a couple weeks after that. Our son was born about 2 weeks later, and about by the time I went to my postpartum checkup, our marriage was over.
Really?
Yeah, but that story stuck with me even today.
Oh, okay. So did that have anything to do with it, or you just why was the marriage over?
Well, it was things surrounding those stories. When he would tell those stories, he would be very drunk,
Okay.
and he would use that particular story. He saw how it affected me mentally, so he would kind of dangle it over me like you would do a little kid with a ghost story. If you're one of those sick people who like
Yeah.
to get entertained by kids being scared, my reaction to that story was really like his source of entertainment, and I was like, no, this is not okay. So.
Right. So, but the ending of the relationship had anything to do with that, or was coming to a close, or it was just, or you just freaked out and just said, "I'm done with this."
Well, it was because of his behavior. His behavior with that story was
Gotcha.
very it was a
Distant.
characteristic of his. So
Um,
there was not only that he liked to torture my mind and he was very abusive. So
okay.
that
Okay.
that brought it to an end.
Okay. All right. So, I'm sorry, we just got into the story. So, but I was like, wait a minute, hold up. You just can't throw that out there like and get it. So yeah, that's so interesting. So how did you publish your books? Was it through KDP? Did you go through a traditional um, literary house?
I self-published because when I was shopping it in its early stages, there were literary agents and publishing companies who wanted me to change this and change that, and I
Yes.
wanted creative control. So I ultimately made the decision that I'm going to put out the work that I want to see, and not what the publishers want me to sell.
Okay. So how are your sales going? Your marketing?
Marketing is all on me, so it's just based on what I can what I can get done. So It's depending on how much money I have, and my budget is close to nothing. So I don't have very many sales, but it's starting to pick up because of things like social media. I'm an introvert, so I was really in my shell. So I really thought I was going to hit spend on KDP and people were going to buy my book. But no, you got to study SEO and analytics and that
Yes.
kind of stuff first. It's kind of a learning process. I'm working back. I'm pulling back and working backwards now.
Okay.
If you
Yeah,
want,
that's awesome. You get it. So tell me
yeah.
about the audio books, because you're the first person I know. Well, you're not the first one that's done it, but someone that is getting familiar with it. And what's that process like?
Um, I have it kind of easy because my audiobook narrator is somebody who is just starting out as well.
Okay.
But I had to listen to a lot. I had to do a lot of research on that because audiobook creating is very expensive and you
Oh,
do not want to botch that. It's not like with the paperback or the ebook where you could just, okay, I can unpublish that, fix this, and then publish it again. Finding a narrators cost up to $250 an hour. And
oh,
per finished hour, meaning that they've not only just read it, but they've also taken out any sound from it. And then if you have a narrator who is not producing, who can't produce it as well, then you've got to pay more money, and that could be up to $100 per hour. So it's very expensive. So that was the first thing that I learned. The second thing that I learned is that unless you have a voice that people find completely soothing, then you can't narrate your own audiobook because people are going to have to listen to you for 4 to 8 hours. And if they don't like your book, they will return it. And if they return it, that comes out of your bank account.
ah,
Um, Another thing about the returns is that if you go through ACX, which is Amazon's audiobook narrating process, they allow people to listen to full books and return them. So you don't know what you're gonna get with this. You could sell a lot, but they can return a lot too. And there are authors who are trying to push back against that. But when you're fighting a bigger monster, it takes a long time to go through that process. So I hope that they do get their money back, but I'm trying to be a little bit intentional about the audience that I target because I don't want to run into those people who will listen to a whole audiobook and return it. Audiobooks cost $25 to $30. So if you have a whole bunch of people buy that and then a whole bunch of people return that, that's going to result in a negative bank account for you. So you've got to be very intentional with the things that you do with the audiobooks.
wow, that is so many good nuggets. So yeah, I just had an author who sent me three of her books. Apparently, they were giving like 50 of the audiobooks out,
Mm-hmm.
as a promotion. And they were great. You have to have a code. And I wanted to get to the second one so badly. My code didn't work, or I couldn't get it to work properly, or whatever, because I already had Kindle.
Um,
And so I had points. So I ended up using my points, I believe, and getting on to it. So, but yeah, I think that audiobooks is great. They're great. But I'm really interested in knowing more about that because I get people asking me about it often, like how to get it done. And you raise some really good pointers about having a soothing voice because the books are long
mhm.
often, and even if they aren't, they still want to listen to someone that is soothing,
Yeah.
and perhaps we'll put them because I have to admit I do listen to mine at night. And so my last I'm in the middle of becoming with Michelle Obama right now. So, and I listen to Obama's and a few others, and yeah, you have to be pretty soothing. So,
That
but
one is
Michelle Obama,
pretty.
she didn't do hers. Hmm.
No, she didn't. That one is pretty long though, isn't it?
Yes, but hers is not quite as long as Obama's. But he did his own, and yeah, I just sped it up a little bit because he talks kind of slow. It was good though, but with Michelle, she used someone else, and I kind of missed that though. I was expecting her voice,
Yeah.
and but and I think I could have listened to that, but I'm sure I could have because I saw her when she was promoting it during her tour, and yeah, I really appreciated that. But this is really good. So it's about $250 per hour, and that takes a long time. What kind of process? About how long does it take to read a book, or how long will it take for your audio person to get through your book?
So my book is very, very long. Um, Atypically long for my genre. It's about 444 pages.
Yes.
And so it's like 12 hours to listen to it on the PDF reader. And the narrator that I have, she has a very even, slow and even tone to her voice. So it's, when do we start the project? We started in March. It'll be done in June. And that's because she's doing all the production too. But then after that, I have to put the different tracks that she's done because she's that up on ACX, Amazon's audiobook site. And then I have to wait for them to listen to the whole thing and approve it. So that could take another 30 to 60 days.
Oh,
So,
yeah. So
so
that's
yeah,
kind of like when you're uploading your book in Kindle and Direct Kindle, you have to go through their platform and then
yeah,
upload it.
exactly.
Oh. And then they
Exactly.
have to wait till it's approved, and it could be anything that they send it back for.
Right, right. So with this, they have to listen. They have to make sure that there's nobody cutting the grass in the background. Make sure that there's no cars honking outside, no kids
Yes.
running through the room, neighbors upstairs dropping pots and pans, any little thing, and they will send it back.
Wow.
So she has to listen to it before she sends it back to me, and then I have to listen to each track individually and make sure that there's nothing. And it's a long process, but
Yes.
we were both very eager to learn. We sat in on a couple of clubhouse rooms where they were telling us how to um, create our own audiobooks, and then we were able to go from there and decided that this was something that we wanted to pursue. And it's great for her because she's getting her voice out there and she's getting all these offers for the book, and it's, I mean, to do other narrations, and
Yes.
it's really good because she does her production with her with package with the audio, and you don't really get that. That's normally a separate charge by a separate company. So
And the production, is that like the editing?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
so she's going to edit everything herself.
Yes, yes, she's gonna do all the editing and normalizing the tone and doing all that adjusting to make sure that everything sounds even, because you know
Hmm.
she's doing this on different days. Your voice sounds different from day to day,
Yes.
or cold or whatever.
Yes.
So she got to do a whole lot of stuff on the back end that she's doing.
Wow. That is a little bit of that's some challenge. So you guys went through the course together and you decided that you wanted to do it together. What did you get out of it since
So
she's doing it?
so I'm going to get an audiobook out of it. That's another platform. Being that my genre doesn't have a lot of audiobooks available, um, it'll give me more visibility, and people will be looking for my books more because I'll be in there earlier in the game to hook readers.
So
So
yours is romance.
no, mine is urban contemporary fiction.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's relatively new, right?
Yeah, yeah. We kind of had to create a lane for ourselves. So yeah.
Right. Oh, okay, okay. Wow. So you'll be like a pioneer first of a lot of
Well, there's a
so
couple of them in there, but the the visually impaired community was really asking for more books in our genre because they want to read what they want to read. And so I'll have that advantage that I'll be able to provide something for them.
Yes, yes, that's great. And is there anything that you can bestow upon the audience that might be interested in perhaps publishing a book or, getting started on writing? What advice would you give to someone like that?
As far as getting started on writing, sit down and write. Um, don't be afraid to mess up the first time. You are going to sit down. Don't be afraid to create your own time. And don't, study what's out there, but don't be afraid to give your own flavor to it. Don't be afraid to do something new. Don't be afraid to push the limits.
Mm,
And don't be afraid to be you. You have that story was put in your mind because somebody needed to hear it. The only thing that you have to do is find the people who want to hear it.
okay. All right. That's good advice. So, one other question. What was it like to get your first book in your hand?
Oh, I have a whole video of I made my husband follow me outside with my phone, and I'm like, "No, this is a moment. You have got to record this." I was like walking outside swinging a knife, and my neighbors were looking at me like, "What in the world are they doing?" We're going out on the porch for this book, and they're like, "Okay, she's swinging a knife. He's happy about her swinging a knife. Don't see that every day."
No, what was the knife for?
To open the box right there on the porch.
Ah, okay.
And
Oh, that's exciting.
my kids are like, "Oh, there's a box out there. Maybe it's toys for us." And they're on video like, "Oh, it's just books."
Just
But it was like, because I have wanted to do this my whole life. So the first time that I got a physical book in my hand, I was like, oh my goodness. I was crying and trying not to cry because I'm an ugly crier on camera. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. So I had to go out and put the book in all the little free libraries around town just so that I could say somebody had my book. By there the next day, like, did they buy the book? Did they take the book out of there? Did somebody take the book out of there? If somebody did, so I was so happy.
okay. Yeah.
Getting the Black authors in the libraries, and I love it because my first job was in a library, my first after school job. So seeing somebody so dedicated to getting us in the library, especially the independent authors, is so exciting.
That is.
Loving
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just grateful that you popped on with me. Oh, wow. Well, darn, I thank you so much. I've learned so much.